Good afternoon, investors, fund managers listening online. My name is Jerry Nustid. Coming back to report on third quarter results. This time around, probably won't do too much of a background. I assume that most people that been following have somewhat good ideas of what we do, but if not, you could post the questions at the end. Maybe I can try to answer those questions as well. I guess we skipped one quarter. We didn't come for the second quarter, so we'll recap what happened in the past 9 months. Given that I think we talked about first quarter already. Basically, this past 9 months, about 4 things that we have done. The first being the land plot that we bought in Banyan area. This is a beginning of what we call township development in a different form. Okay, township development in the first form was that we're talking 230 plus rights of land, empty land, and we dissect them into pieces for various projects. Some pieces that are next to the road, not applicable for property development. We simply sell them out to for commercial use of other kinds. That's our strategy in terms of land acquisition and value maximization. But from Banyan area is a bit different. We bought 43 rights of land very close to Banyan Trat highway. But it's promising in the sense that it's right on the green line that will connect Suvarnabhumi Phase 2 to Banyan area. That by itself would increase significant numbers of people who work in the airport, as well as the commercial areas that are being developed right now. For example, I think you might have heard about Central Village. You might have heard about other mega mall projects around the area. So this is an upcoming one of the upcoming area for I would say outskirts of Bangkok. We're able to acquire 43 rights as I mentioned. This 43 right is right behind a commercial mall called At-U Park. Okay, this mall has a. Maybe I shouldn't get too much into the detail of the township development at this point. There is a slide for that down the line. Maybe I'll touch back on this point a little bit later. Probably seeing diagram would help understanding a little bit better. So let's just take it. We have a good size land in a promising area for development. The other important activities would be a launch of what we call legendary product for us, NIRVANA Beyond. It's a 3-story single house, which we launched the first series, I think, more than 10 years ago now. This is the all-new launch. We did in 2 locations. One is right on the Krungthep township that we're developing, and the other one is in the provincial but very commercial area of Udon Thani, under a project that we call Turnkey Solution. The others, both of these are collaboration, obviously. Collaboration with the Japanese number one developer, Daiwa House Industry, and the Udon Thani project is a collaboration with the landlord. We didn't actually buy the land. We developed a housing project on landlord's land. That's what we call turnkey solution. The third important activity was the condominium of NIRVANA's DNA. Okay, the first one is called the most Itsarapap. Okay, this one is low rise, 8 story. It's very unique in terms of location. And so we experienced quite strong demand and were able to secure about over 85% sales at the first 2 days of events. So there's some opportunities there. Obviously, condominiums is not all problematic, but I guess if you pin it at the right spot, it still give some pretty good development project. And lastly, in the third quarter, which is in August, we did a grand opening for our super luxuries condominium, namely Banyan Tree Residences, Riverside, Bangkok. So it was an official grand opening for the condominium. I'll run through the pictures a little bit so you can kind of see what I kind of introduced. The pictures you're seeing right now is the 3 stories, the new series of NIRVANA Beyond. Okay, you can see that it's unique in the design. It's very much different from other products available in the market. We take pride in this because when we first launched NIRVANA Beyond, we were challenging the market with 3-story single house. At that point, no one would believe that it was going to work. But we proved that if we done it right, there are segment of market for it. So this time around, it's basically an improved version of NIRVANA Beyond. The customer base that might have purchased the first series might feel the need that they want to move on to something more high-end, more exciting in terms of design. This one you can see the first, the biggest one on the right of the picture. The living room is diagonal to the first floor plan. So it creates unusual space that we like to believe that we offer this so you could feel like you stay in a resort 360 days a year. Okay, so just something that we put out. This project has 85 units. And it's all prefabricated, all precast concrete, pre-stressed concrete that we put together, manufactured from our factories in Nakhon Pathom. The project is actually owned half, roughly 49% by NIRVANA DAII, and the other 49% by Daiwa House Industry. So it's half Japanese. Obviously, it won't be consolidated, the incomes for those, for analysts out there, it would be equity income at the bottom line. The condominium, the most Itsarapap, this one, we got a piece of land, I think 800 meters away from Siriraj Hospital. Very unique. We put up low rise, about 8 stories. We able to fit about 193 units with sellable area of about 5,900 square meters. And I think four or five types of rooms, starting from studio all the way up to 2 stories. We did a pre-sale and VVIP event and pre-sales on 2 separate weekends, subsequent to one another. Those two days, we were able to secure about 85%, as I mentioned, units sold, worth about 558 million baht in terms of backlog. Right now, the project is undergoing the EIA approval, expected to be within fourth quarter this year, and so we'll be on our way to construction, hopefully done by late next year or early 2021. Okay. This is the mood and tone of the condominium. If you look at the pictures on the left-hand side, the picture of the condominium, you see that most people would see this as another building block in the bottom of the U shape, because actually it's a bridge connecting two buildings together. And for NIRVANA fans, you know right away that this is beyond NIRVANA Beyond's DNA. In the first generation of Beyond, you have a bridge connecting living room to the master bedroom. So this one recreating that. You get out from the elevator, you walk through your room in an open air space with greens and vertical garden around you. So it's something that we try to keep our DNA in the new product that we put out. This is the mood of the first 2 days of sales. Very crowded days. This one is a picture of NIRVANA Beyond, which we did a turnkey solution, as I mentioned. You can see right at the far end of the picture in the middle, you see a lake. That's actually Nong Prachak Lake in center of Udon Thani. Okay, having that house in front of you, in front of the lake, is comparable to maybe 450 square meters of single house next to Suan Lumpini in Bangkok context. So it's very, very high end. I wouldn't call it luxury because our design is based on natural modern. It's not chandelier or anything like that, but it's on the high end segment. So this is within walking distance to one of the most famous recreation area of Udon Thani. I think talking about multiple thousand people running around the lake every day, every morning, every evening. So one of the best place to live. We didn't buy the land, as I mentioned. We call it turnkey solutions. Basically, we develop a housing project. For this case, 40 units, also of prefabricated NIRVANA Beyond series. When the house is sold, the house are sold under 2 contract. Land that buyer do directly with the landlord, and the house is buyers doing directly with NVD. So it's what we call 2 contract houses. And so effectively, we require less capital doing it this way. And this is if you remember, is the original business of DAII Group before, that they provide home building service, or some people call home builders business. So we're moving. Unfortunately, the market hasn't been that favorable. I mean, we got a high number of visitors actually for both Krungthep Grita and Udon Thani, but unfortunately the booking hasn't been as fast as we expected because of the fact that global. I guess we said that economy do not affect that much of our segment because we picked the what you call it, high potential segment of customers. These guys are yuppies that they survive through economic cycles, or some might call real demand. But the problem with real demand in the negative sentiment, industry sentiment, is that they don't feel the rush. Real demand takes time. So I guess we get included in the impact of the overall industry sentiment. This is a picture of the party, of the grand opening party. You can see this is taken by the drone right in the middle of the Chao Phraya River. The first 3 stories of the condominium. The first story you can't really see that much. Is a concierge and lobby lounge. It's 9 meter tall, floor to ceiling. You can see the second story a little bit better. You can see on the far left is the boardroom, for meeting room that residents can use, can book and use for their meetings, board meetings or what have them. There's a small meeting room next to it, and there are a sizable library in the middle, and a pre-function room with wine cellar in this small room next to a private dining area on the most right. That's you can call in Michelin star chef from Banyan Tree to provide private dinner for your guests or for your board after the meeting. On the third floor is the recreation area. This is fitness on the most left. There's an outdoor jacuzzi right in the middle. And this open area with the sunken up here that you can sit down and read, enjoying the river breeze in the afternoon somehow. And through this corridor in the back is the parking structure. This condominium provides 200% parking. We have also on the rooftop full-size swimming pool and a spa room, of course, that you can also asking spa service from Banyan Tree as well. We're talking about net sales of about 52 units at the end of last quarter, third quarter. We transferred already 44 units, or a little over $1 billion baht already. The great news is that one of the most expensive units have been sold. The duplex penthouse on the very top floor, 45th story, 800 square meters has been sold in May, and we just sold another 4-bedroom duplex. There are only 2 on the floor right beneath that, 42, 43. We sold one of them and transferred already in September. So the momentum seems to be picked up quite nicely. Just the mood of the party, so you can see that the segment of the customer that we're aiming. The grand opening was necessary in the sense that we able to get the words out. I guess we were pretty successful in terms of social medias and in the networks of celebrities and then the high-end living. So they get to acknowledge that our existence. Okay, those are key events that kind of dictate the results. I'll go through this briefly. Maybe I'll leave it for the questions more. But on the quarterly basis, it seems a bit stronger Q1Q. We're talking 640 million over right below 600 million in the second quarter. Basically, it was the Banyan Tree. Last year, condominium was not contributing at all. We were still constructing. We started transferring the first few units in the fourth quarter this last year. So the second quarter was only landed residents only. But comparing to third quarter last year, there seems to be weakened a bit. That's mainly because the land sales in that quarter was much bigger than land sales in this quarter. If you remember, we in our strategy to create sustainable growth that we call quality of growth is that we have three lines of revenue streams and earning streams. One is the develop for sales, which is normal, just like everyone else. You buy property, you develop, and you sell. Okay. The second one is recurring income, which is in our context is the turnkey solution, being the most sizable chunk of that portion. Basically, we provide home building service on landlord's land, and so we earn the house portion of it. And it's recurring in our sense because if they stack up nicely, it could provide a very stable revenue stream for us. And lastly is the land sales, which we have been saying all along that we use this as neutralize the fluctuation of the revenue that we cannot avoid in this industry. In the third quarter, we sold about 6 rights of Krungthep, Thailand, right next to the street. As opposed to third quarter last year, we're talking 27 rights were injected into NIRVANA DAII development, our joint venture with the Daiwa house industry. So the magnitudes are quite different. That's why you see a year-on-year drop in revenue. But on the gross profit level, you can see big improvement from 37% to 43%. That's basically that kind of hint to you that Banyan Tree portion of the revenue is quite profitable. Regardless of the land size sold in this quarter, much smaller than third quarter last year. Other points are maybe selling, which I should address. It's much higher compared to last year, mostly because of the condominiums effect. In third quarter particularly, there were some commission related to sales of big units. So that's why you can see a big shot. Besides the grand opening expense that we did in August. So that's why proportion to the revenue is a bit bigger, both in terms of magnitude as well as the proportion to the revenue. Unfortunately, we should have done much higher in terms of condominium transfer. The mood isn't really there. I guess we have to accept the fact that most people, it's a buyer market that people shop around. They don't big ticket items. They don't make decision that quickly. Only up to the point when they feel that if they don't hurry, they might lose the opportunity. That's the fact. That's when we will start to enjoy. We're getting there one way or the other. The reason why I mention this is because besides the selling expense, you could also see a strong evidence in the financial cost line as well. You see a big jump from 5 million per quarter last year to 27 per quarter in the second quarter to 24 million in this past quarter. That's basically interest that related to Banyan Tree's debt project finance loan. I guess it's the technicality that once you start transferring the first unit, capitalization process stops. So everything gets expensed afterward. If you add that add that financial cost back to arrive at EBIT or operating profit, you can see the EBIT still growing somewhat in line with the top line. So it's really the fact that we don't generate enough top line to cover this. On the it's much clearer. The picture is much clearer in the 9-month basis. You can see top line growth year on year, 26%. That's basically contributed by the condominium. The 2% margin improvement also because of the condominium is very high in gross margin. The selling expense, like I said, is similar to third quarter. Administrative expense a bit higher, but still 9% relative to revenue. It's basically we built in a bit more personal staff related expenses. We improving our people, we rewarding them a little bit more, so that's why there's some increase in there as well. Financial cost obviously is the impact from the loan for Banyan Tree, for NIRVANA River to be exact. So top line went up 26%. Bottom line, because of the interest and related selling expense, dropped the bottom line to about by 17%. In terms of asset base and balance sheet, asset base went up about 10%. Basically, you can kind of see it's right in the first two lines, which is cash and cash equivalents and the cost of property development. Basically, those are the financing activities that we have done in late third quarter. At the end of fourth quarter, you will see that the financing activity will change, and the increase in the loan that you might also notice in liabilities would go back down, while the about 550 million in the cost of property went up because of the Bang Na land plot. In terms of debt, as I mentioned, we're doing financing activity, so it was a very short-term increase in short-term debt, which already paid back, and the loan for the project finance for Bang Na area comes in. So pretty straightforward, nothing that abstract in the numbers. In terms of outlook, I guess we highlighted green area for those projects that are still sizable, that could be generating potential sales and revenue for us. On the total basis, we're talking about 12.5 billion baht worth of properties that are still available. None of these, some are ready stocks, inventory, but some are still lands that not still yet to be developed. For example, beyond Rama 2, those are basically there are only a few houses that are ready for sales and transfer, but the rest are still pretty much land, which we're trying our best to push for the sales of that project. Slowly, it should be coming along quite nicely. Rama 2 is one of the most famous area that people search for on the internet for a living space. I guess we just have to go find those home buyers that appreciate our house and design. this one just put up so that you come back and awake a bit, just in case someone falling to sleep. We're not investing in space or aircraft or spacecraft or anything. But basically, I just want to show that we are tapping the European market a little bit more now. Up to maybe, throughout last year, we're talking only Hong Kong, Singapore. This year, we visited Beijing and Shanghai. And also, lastly, Stockholm. We found that there's a lot of available liquidities there in the environment that Swedish krona has lost its value in by half. Okay, so it's a proposition that we brought to the European market, especially for those sitting on big chunk of cash that don't know anything what to do with it, to prevent it from depreciating a little bit further. They could also put it in property, promising properties that I guess no one can really. I can probably safely say that the land that this condominium sits on is one of the last plots of this size that you can find along the Chao Phraya River, and on top of that, it's right along the bank because of the old permits that we are able to maintain from the past 20 years. So we're still working quite diligently, not only for the international markets. We're also trying to identify our target customers here in Bangkok as well. I guess we had a booking yesterday. Just a side note, I guess. It's last weekend was a bit of a surprise. We able to see very healthy sales for the past 2 days, despite the what you call it, the dooms and gloom of the industry. I think we're talking about one townhouse unit, a 2-bedroom condominium at Banyan Tree, and maybe one single house in Bin Krao area. So very positive. I guess the team was quite happy to be able to achieve that. This is a townhouse unit that has been selling quite well, although a bit obviously impacted a little bit if you compare to the sales speeds last year, but still considerably quite strong. I think we're talking 1 or 2 units a weekend. So it's quite. This is not a what you call it, not a cheap townhouse. Starting price is right now 7 million baht for the smallest one, smallest unit of about 200 plus square meters. We have about 173 units. We sold 81, so a little bit past the halfway, pretty close to the halfway point. Transferred already 56 units. Backlog 25 units should be coming in from this quarter and maybe early of next year. The good news about this is the flyover bridge over the Kanchanabhisek Outer Ring Road is completed and open for public. That's enable to people to commute from the airport, the Suvarnabhumi International Airport, with only, I think, 15 minutes. Okay, you're flying into Bangkok, driving home, taking 15 minutes to drive home is a privilege, we believe. More and more, we start seeing our customers working in the airline business. So besides other segment of customers that we are enticed to. This one is the the Beyond that we partner with Daiwa House. Again, this one is similar to Don Thani. Starting price is 25 million. Sitting right in the middle of pretty much still empty land. One thing that most consumers don't realize in the background is that developers has been searching or maybe seeking for lands along this road, which is should be equivalent to the old Rachada Pisek or equivalent to the what you call it Padit Manu Tham or in the nickname for Thai people they would call Liep Thang Duan street. I gave these two examples because the development along this road has gone up so quickly because it's connecting CBD to a large infrastructure being the airport. So we could expect rapid development along the way. So not a surprise that everyone trying to get a piece of the land off this road. We're able to secure 200 plus lands along this road, and this is one of the first project next to townhouse that you just saw. But what's going on in the background is that developers been looking for land, so driving the price of their cost up, while the consumer doesn't really know that incident. So they might feel that the price that we're asking them to pay is a bit higher. But 5 years, 10 years down the line, this price we believe should be quite attractive in terms of future long-term investment if you prefer to look at it that way. So we sit tight. We work very closely with Daiwa House. I think last weekend the head sales came by and help us in sharing ideas of how they sell house in Japan, which is quite handy for us, I guess. Learning new things from the partners. To recap on the land bank, I think we're down to about 269 rights now, mostly along the Sinakarin Romkrao Road or the road that we talked about, and the Bangna area 43.5 rights there, and a few plots along Ratana Tibet, about I think combined it's about 12.4 rights, and one more in the Prachachun area close by to the Bangsa Grand Station. Value of the project, potential value for project development, I think we're talking about in excess of 30 billion baht on today's value. But another way to look at it is this asset carries net asset value of about 5.35 billion baht. This is market value net, its corresponding debts. So just to give you an idea, in case anything happen for this market, I think we are quite secure because all these lands are very high potential and highly liquid. In terms of products, I guess you might be familiar with Beyond, Define, and At Work. Starting right now, we are developing two products. NIRVANA Element, which is a sub-segment to Beyond, two-step below Beyond. And another higher segment of NIRVANA Collection. Basically, the first customer of NIRVANA Beyond, if they had bought the house when they were 50, 10 years ago, right now they are 60. Needs and requirements have changed. Master bedroom might as well be on the first floor, while the second and third and fourth bedrooms are spanning upstairs. Price point go up a little bit because of the young urban professional getting more successful. So we offering them another product to keep them in our portfolio. And we are, I think by late next year, we're looking for another piece of land in the Bang Na township to do a new product called NIRVANA Absolute. This is a segment that's right between Beyond and Element. Basically, I guess this is comparable to. I don't really like to compare to Mercedes, but this seems to be the best analogy at the moment. You can kind of see various models coming out, answering very different needs and requirements of each segment. So we basically doing the same thing, provide more options for people to choose and buy from. This is township. I think we touched on this slide last quarter. Krung Thep Retown Township, we bought the land and we dissect them into pieces, sell some, buy some more, and then we would have some commercial in the area in the yellow part of it. We are underdeveloped, what you call it, negotiating for, under considering business model, I should say. The other type of Bang Na King Kaew, which I kind of paused at the beginning, the gray piece in the back, you might see, that's the 43 rights. It will be NIRVANA Element. The orange piece here is actually, the yellow piece first is a small community center or lifestyle mall called At You Park, Suvarnabhumi. This one has drive-through Starbucks, drive-through KFC, and 24/7 Foodland supermarket. Standing alone by themselves could be a bit tough in terms of retail, but having housing project supporting that mall is a win-win solution. Win-win-win actually. Landlord, developers, as well as the customers. You can simply, it's nice to have a supermarket, a high-end supermarket in front of the house where you can walk to get something to eat 24/7, 24 hours a day. I'm running out of time, right? Are we okay still? Okay. So this is an example of township that we don't have to develop everything. We just collaborate with the landlord. The orange piece of land that landlord want us to build NIRVANA Beyond for them. So there will be three different classes of products there, which is what we believe. Oh, here, this is a picture, a better picture of the land in the Bang Na area. We only put Beyond an Element because we still in the last effort. We're very close to finishing that plot for NIRVANA Absolute. We might be able to talk about that next time. But for the two projects, we're talking about 1.8 billion and 1 billion for the turnkey project for Beyond. The way we look at this is we want to acquire land in clusters. Doesn't have to be big piece. It could be a small piece that we collaborate with the landlord, just like Bang Na. Because doing it this way, we can optimize the acquisition cost of the land. We can provide full range of product spectrums so that people can choose from very high end to mid segment. While we developing multiple projects in one area, it helps us in terms of efficiencies of OPEX. Okay, one single sales gallery serve 3 products, for example. Obviously, sales team only one. As likewise for the engineering construction team. And then the extra facilities that can enhance value for the entire project itself. That's pretty much basically what I have. Thought it was going to be not that long. I used the entire hours. We have a few questions here. I guess I'll read out the first one first. What percentage of Thai customer and foreigners in the condominium segment, how do they pay for the units, in cash or using mortgage? I would say it's half and half. We see equal amount of customers, especially for those that have transferred already. It depends. Some paying cash, some are paying mortgage, using mortgage. I would like to say that it's lean toward cash a little bit more at this stage. I guess they see that parking cash in the bank doesn't earn anything right now. Parking it in risky assets could risk the chance of losing value. So I think tendency we see more cash payment. Second question, demand for condominiums will be affected by tougher lending rules and the slowing global economy. What is your view and how would you react on these matters? Definitely, that's kind of what we experienced in the third quarter, as you can see. We actually been able to sell quite nicely, especially for the home office segment. I guess next time when we come to this kind of discussion, we probably bring in sales record of the home office. It's picking up quite nicely, given that there's quite developments of the infrastructure being electric trains, sky trains around Bangkok area. We are right on those lines, pink line, and I think brown or gray line that's coming in the future. So the sales has been quite well, but unfortunately the stringent lending rules kind of turn away a lot of demand. How do we react? I guess we just have to work harder and find those targets. Different ways of selling. I guess we should work more on the database, kind of a big data approach to identify target market that can actually afford, and so that we don't have to face the cancellation, the turn down rate. Third question. Thank you for the presentation. What are you doing to increase liquidity in your shares? Great questions. We are considering various things. I don't think I can discuss at this moment, but we're looking at a few approach that can kind of hopefully enhance shareholders' value in some way. I guess you can kind of guess what I'm talking about, but I guess let us work on that a little bit more and more solid agreement among ExCom and board members. Then we'll come and tell you about it. But we take this point nearly close to our heart, that liquidities and the shareholders' wealth. We're doing everything that we can. Unfortunately, market is not that favorable. but we still able to grow some, at least the revenue base. When the market picks up next time, we should be in the, I mean, financially we quite still healthy. Net DE is only 1.5, and so I think we should be well immune for the downturn. But to enjoy something big rebound, I guess it would just take time. I guess that's it. That's all the time I have. I spent extra minute as well. Sorry about that. Any further questions? I think on the last slide, you can see that there's a IR contact. Dr. Kanayani will be very happy getting your questions after this. Okay. Thank you very much for having us. Until next time, goodbye.